everyone. We are back for another episode of the Neurodivergent Convergence Podcast. I'm Nikki, and that's Amanda. Say hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
And we have a special guest today. This is Dr. Angela. Wow, we're mushmouth already. It's already happening. Dr. Angela Lauria, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am fantastic. Look, I can follow instructions just like Amanda. You asked a question, I answer. It's great. We're doing good so far.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. We love it. So, we got connected through River.
Yeah.
She sent us a message and said, if you want to have a guest on your show, I think Dr. Angela would be perfect. And I said, heck yeah, let's do it. So here we are. I want to sort of make this episode about you. I want you to tell us about what you do, sort of how you fell into the career path you're in now, about your autism diagnosis, whether you're self-diagnosed or formally. Like, we just kind of want to hear about you. So
my favorite topic. This is fantastic.
Right? Right.
It appeals to my narcissistic nature.
Yes, exactly.
So, just take it away. What do you want the people to know about you?
Well, first, I want to shout out River, who connected us, because River is our content manager over at the Autistic Culture Podcast, which I produce and co-host, and could not do without River. She makes me want to burst into "You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings."
Oh, I love that.
Podcasts, like, I don't know, man, they are a lot of work. If you are listening, this is harder than it sounds. Enjoy the show. Podcasts are one of my special interests. I listened to over 4,000 hours last year, which basically means if I'm awake, I'm listening to a podcast or recording one. And I listen on 2x speed. So 4,000 hours is actually 2,000 hours of my time. But still, yeah. Also, I read while listening to podcasts. So tell me you're neurodivergent without telling me you're neurodivergent.
Yeah.
I read a separate book. Like, I'll listen to a podcast while reading a completely. It's a lot. It's a lot going on here. But we launched the Autistic Culture Podcast about 1.5 years now, I think, almost. And it has been so amazing connecting with the autistic community. When I was first diagnosed, and you guys are probably too young to remember this, it's still up there though. When I was first diagnosed, the first thing I did was read everything on Wrong Planet. Do you guys remember Wrong Planet?
No.
It was almost pre-internet. So I was diagnosed 11 years ago. And it was like a forum. They were called forums. It was like
I remember
Facebook groups and just even the name Wrong Planet, I was like, oh my God, I've been saying I'm on the wrong planet all these years. So it was like awesome then, but then somehow, I don't know, within months after getting my diagnosis, I just started trying to fix myself. I was like, well, now that I know what it is, maybe I'll stop eating wheat. Or maybe I'll get acupuncture, or I literally tried every cure for autism there possibly was. And it turns out you can't cure a neurotype. It took me 10 years, and then massive suicidal burnout, total disaster. I lost my voice completely for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And then I sort of reconnected 10 years later. So, I was diagnosed in 2011, and the community now is so empowered and empowering and joyful. And I feel and it's just where we were then, but Wrong Planet was about bitching about how hard everything is. And it is, but there's just so much more depth to the community now. And it's been such a different way of approaching my diagnosis through that cultural social model, instead of through the something's broken and I need to find the miracle cure. Maybe a fast will cure it.
Yeah.
I think TikTok helps a lot with that, which I know a lot of people are against, well, just because it's on TikTok doesn't mean I have these symptoms that TikTok says I have, that must mean I have it. I know like people, I know there's kind of a little pushback of there's too much, like
Right.
there's overdiagnosis. And so, but I still think like, not necessarily TikTok, but it kind of like that sort of thing, like the internet kind of like helped me realize, is this maybe what I have? Is this maybe what's wrong with me, that my brain no work right? And so it does all these things. So I completely get it too.
That was, I mean, it was TikTok in the pandemic where I like, even though I had been diagnosed, but I should tell you my diagnosis story because I think it's so invalidatingly, it's so invalidatingly valid or something. So
I love it.
Okay. So I read this book, which I think I recommend still. It definitely changed my life. It's David Finch's The Journal of Best Practices. He's the co-host of Uniquely Human with Barry Prezant. Anyway, read this book. I had heard him on an early podcast. It wasn't a podcast. It was a radio show called This American Life. And he mentioned taking this online quiz for what was then called Asperger's, but for autism. So I took the quiz and, you know, passed with flying colors. And then my partner, Mila, I was like, sure, everyone's a little bit autistic because like those questions were obvious. Like I knew the answers. They were very clear.
I aced it. Yes.
I did. I aced it. And who wouldn't? Like Mila's smart. So I had Mila take it. I think I had gotten like a 96 or something and she got a 5.
It's like, oh no.
And then I like went through each question. I'm like, wait, on this one, like this, you don't think about that. Wait, you don't do that. And she's like, none of this makes any sense. What are you talking about? So I was sort of self-diagnosed. And then, but that felt like a Cosmo quiz. Like I wasn't going to do anything with it. I didn't feel like I had any like support needs. It wasn't solving or addressing anything. I just took a fun quiz and me and my partner scored very differently. And I was like, well, that's probably why she gets mad at me a lot. And then I got fired at work, which when I got fired, they had replaced me with a guy and I found out he was making like $100,000 more than me.
Jeez.
What?
And so I was like super mad. So I went to a lawyer and I wanted to like sue them, like some sort of labor law, wrongful termination, something. And I thought it was sexism.
Yeah.
So anyway, the lawyer asked me a bunch of questions. One of the questions, which I didn't even notice, was like, do you have autism? And I like answered it because I had kind of self-diagnosed, but never really. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I probably have Asperger's. I always make Aspie jokes with my partner. Like, yeah, probably. And then he's like, okay, I don't think you have a sexism case. I think you have an ADA case, but you don't have a formal diagnosis. So I need you to go. This is the psychiatrist I recommend. I need you to go to this psychiatrist and get me a formal diagnosis, bring it back here and we'll sue these motherfuckers. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go. I go to the psychiatrist. Now this is probably some sort of kickback scheme. I don't know. Cause why was that one of the questions the lawyer asked? Why did he like recommend this person? But like, I wasn't educated. Anyway, I go in there. He asked me like 6 questions. He does not do what a DSM diagnosis would probably call for, and then writes me a letter. So I have a letter from a psychiatrist that says I'm formally diagnosed.
I'm certified crazy. Isn't that great?
Right. And here's the thing is I hear so many people who want that piece of paper I have. Like they don't think their self-diagnosis or a peer review counts. And I'm like, does that thing count? Is that a thing? Like, nobody knows what they're fucking doing.
Right.
Nobody knows what they're doing. So you're going to go to somebody who knows less about autism than you, who's watched 1/10 of the content, read 1/10 of the books as you. They're going to ask you a whole bunch of dumb questions. And then they're going to ask your mom a bunch of dumb questions that don't take any regard for your gender, for your race, for your age. They're just going to ask, like, was she into lining up trains? And then your
Right.
mom's going to say, no, she wasn't into trains. And they're going to be like, I know. Plus, she made eye contact with me when she walked in here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure I made eye
she's
contact with that guy. And she's a girl.
Yeah.
And I heard she dated. Like, she can't be
Yeah.
autistic. Like, she had a relationship. So it's all stupid and no one knows you better than you. And when I look at the difference between the day me and Mila took the quiz, when I was like, oh, like, I know this is who I am. This makes perfect sense now, to the day some dude handed me a piece of paper so some other dude could get rich off of like my problems in life, getting fired from every job I've ever had. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of self-diagnosis. And Amanda, I actually don't think there is an overdiagnosis problem. I think that neurodivergent people are about 20% of the population, and we are still underdiagnosed.
Right.
I agree.
Especially like women, because it's always like growing up, and I don't know like how much you've heard like in our episodes, but like I had a cousin who at the time was ADD, and he was diagnosed ADD, autistic, but it was more like Asperger's at the time, like you said. And so, but it was more like he got not the easy, but it was easier for him to go get diagnosed. I think more because he was a guy. And so that was just, well, he can't sit still, so it's ADHD. Well, she sits quietly. She gets her work done on time. So
she can't be neurodivergent. Yeah.
We have no issues with her. She doesn't speak up. She doesn't do anything. So she's fine. It's fine. We don't need to talk about her crippling anxiety or her rejection sensitivity dysphoria or whatever. It's no worries.
It's a phase.
It's just a phase. She's just an easy crier. She just cries easily. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because you said that you took like, I don't know what test you took, but I've taken like online ones, and I know they're not official. They even say this is not an official diagnosis test, and it's like Psychology Today, stuff like that. And so I'm curious now because, like you said, I take these and I'm like, well, this is a clear black and white answer. Why would anyone answer this?
What are the other answers?
Like, I was like, what do you mean you don't do this? And so I kind of want to give it to someone who I know is for sure like not like autistic or ADHD. I'm like, okay, answer this. I want to see what your answers are. Like,
that was so validating. I actually recommend that to anyone. Like, grab a cat cue. Do not ask a family member because they are probably neurodivergent too.
Yeah.
So ask someone who gets along with everyone and never has problems fitting in. Have them take it. Whoever that person.
Scott.
Call Scott, everyone.
Yeah. My gosh.
But yeah. And just be like, you will be amazed. It's funny, like, I work with authors. So my special interest from the time I was super little is writing books. I wrote my first book when I was 7. Here it is. I'm holding it.
I love that.
The video.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, and I have to tell you the name. Here is the name of my book that I wrote as a 7-year-old. Lifelong Chances.
I love that.
What 7-year-old call, like, what is happening?
Did you have to get that from like your mom or something, or do you always keep that around?
Oh no, yeah, this has always been with me. This is my first book.
I love that so much.
So I help people write books, and so a lot of the people who I help will listen to the Autistic Culture Podcast. And one of my authors, he's like, I really think I'm autistic. Like, I've listened to your show. I really think that's me. And so I was like, well, let's just do like a RADS or a cat cue or something. I'm like, just come sit it. So he's like in my living room. I gave him the quit. Yeah. He's like, I don't know what any of this is, but he's like, I scored in the lowest percentile. I'm like, yeah, kind of had a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so fun to see that. It's like we often hang out with other autistics.
Yeah.
Right?
We tend to like find each other. Like if you look around and everybody in your friend group's like you're probably all neurodivergent in some way. Like,
theater kids were looking at you.
Yeah, for real. Like I just feel like I've come to find the people that I actually am able to stay friends with are also neurospicy in some way, right? Like they have some kind of spicy brain because we get each other. You know what I mean? So
it's double empathy problem.
Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to work. Yes,
for sure. Yeah, I feel like we sort of tend to migrate together in groups. So
Mhm.
Well, it's like the whole birds of a feather thing. Like,
yeah,
like we've
for
joked
sure.
before, like I was in band, and so Nikki kind of just like brought herself into our group. She's like, I'm not in band, but I get along with all you band people. So it's kind of like, I recognize that I get along with your personalities, so I'm just gonna hang out with you. I
Yep.
am.
I never
She's
fit
like,
anywhere in school
she's
ever. I never
she's
had a
like the
group. I just sort of attached to people. So.
you know you see like those those memes of like a dog that's like in a group of sheep, and it's like day 379. I have now fully acclimated, and they think I'm one of them.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah, because by the time I graduated, everyone thought I was in band, and I was like, "No, I'm not. I just hang out here. It's fine. I just am. I'm like the
The music
honorary
room is
band
always a good
mascot."
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the other thing I want to say, which is even the word diagnosis, I have recently started taking issue with because we look at on the Autistic Culture podcast, we look at autism as a culture. So like deaf culture or like Italian American culture. So I happen to be Italian American, and wherever I go, all around the world, I will meet other Italians, even if they're not Italian Americans. Like I have friends that are Italian Argentinians. And there are things that are very obviously Italian culture. And there's a thing Italian people say to each other, particularly Italian American people, because Italians from Italy probably think this is dumb. But when we spot each other, we will say, "Are you Paisan?" Which is the
Yeah, I've
Italian
heard
word
that
for
before.
family. We'll be like, Paisan? And this has happened to me all over the world, right? And the most common thing, because so many Italians went to New York, which is like where my family landed, Ellis Island, and so many Jews went there, that there is a ton of crossover between aspects of New York Jewish culture and New York Italian American culture. So every once in a while, I will meet a Jewish person and I'll look at them and I'll be like, Paisan? And they'll look at me and be like, oh, no, I'm Jewish. And then we'll laugh and we'll say, oh, same thing.
Same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's like ADHD and autistic. We'll laugh and say same thing. So we know how to spot each other. It doesn't mean we're 100% right. Sometimes I diagnose Jewish people as being Italian.
Yeah.
But it's not a diagnosis. I am identifying these are things that are familiar within my culture.
Yeah.
And so
for sure.
I know there's like a big thing about how you're not supposed to like diagnose other people, like celebrities or dead people or something like that. But I'm like, I'm not diagnosing. What I am doing is I am identifying autistic traits, just like I can identify Italian American traits. That person might not be Italian American, but if they're eating a cannoli or they make really good cannolis, I can be like, hey, in Italian American culture, we love a cannoli. So I've got an episode coming up, which I'm terrified about. I'm going to like break the news to you guys, but I'm doing an episode which is called Taylor Swift is Autistic. And,
you got to go there.
Right? And this does not mean I think she's autistic. I have no fucking clue. But what I do know is there are a lot of traits of autistic thinking and of our neurotype in her fan base, in the Easter eggs in her music, in the fact she's pigeon-toed, in the way she holds a pen in a very neurodivergent way. There are a lot of aspects of her culture, of her style that fit our culture. And that's my mission, is to get people to be able to say, oh, autistic? Like, I love that culture. They're the people who brought us the Apple computer and the iPhone. Like, oh, they're the people who brought us Star Wars. Oh, autistic people, that's who brought us the Muppets and Sesame Street. Fucking love autistic people.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's really funny that you just said that, because I truly didn't know that like Star Wars, I didn't make a connection with autism and Star Wars. When we launched our show, we launched on May 4th on purpose, because we're both Star Wars
nerds. May the 4th be with you.
And yes, may the 4th be with you. And like our like podcast like teaser trailer was the scrolling letters. Like
that's
we made
so
like a whole teaser trailer.
perfect.
Yeah, so like it was really fun. Like when we were teasing that we were launching the show, we made a whole teaser trailer with the Star Wars themed everything. Like I paid to have someone make that with the Star Wars music on it on purpose. So like,
Aw.
yeah, so I didn't even know that like I didn't make that connection until just now, but that's really cool. So we didn't even know we were doing it, Amanda, but Star Wars is also got the tism. So
It's like this is our culture. Thank you. It's like this is our thing.
This is our thing. And that doesn't mean other people, like people have been eating cannolis that are not Italian for at least hundreds, if not thousands of years, and for good reason. It's a delightful aspect of it. Might I interest you in a pizza? Like there are many delightful things about Italian culture. We could dance the tarantella, like you could sing some Frank Sinatra. We have a lot to offer. I don't recommend the whole Christopher Columbus thing. That's a dark part.
Yeah. He's from Genoa. It's fine.
But we have Elon Musk. Elon Musk, Christopher Columbus, like not every, like there's highs and lows of every culture, right?
For sure.
But I want people to be able to see it that way. Now, does that mean autistic people don't have medical needs? No. Also, non-autistic people have medical needs because we're human.
Right.
And so please identify any and all of your medical needs and get help. And while you're getting help, please be treated like a human. All humans, I would like to get good medical help where they're treated like a human. But that doesn't have to do with our neurotype. When I go to the doctor, I mean, maybe the fact I'm Italian makes me more likely to have some disease that Italians are predisposed to. I don't know what that is, but I could see that being the case.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, other than that, they don't treat me like I'm not human. Yeah. Or like ask my mom's opinion because I'm Italian American. And that's, I think, the problem with the word diagnosis, puts it into this medical category, which gets us treated like we have mental illness, which maybe we do. Like some people have that. Like there's a lot but there are many people with mental illness that are not neurodivergent.
So what would be like a word that you would prefer? Like, have you thought about that? Like you just said identify.
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 Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to switch that. I still say diagnose, or I'll say self-diagnosis, but I'm trying to say self-identification is my goal. Yeah. And I love a peer review. I love a little peer review action. I think that's
like, we have a panel of the top autistic people that you just have to go through in order.
Right?
It'll be the quickest appointment you've ever had. They're going to look at you, ask you one question, your answer will determine whether or not you are autistic. Off word 2, they will be able to tell you, like, are you autistic?
Not
It'll be the best appointment you've ever had. It'll be so fast. We are so efficient on that stuff.
It'll be on time. There'll be a PowerPoint presentation.
That is right. And if you show up with a binder of data and some spreadsheets, then you don't even need the 2 words.
Right. You don't even need to talk to them. You just show up in a certain way and you are diagnosed. You're done. I love that.
Which is funny because, like, I even told Nikki before you joined us, I said, I'm kind of nervous. I never interviewed anybody before. She's like, well, I think it's more of a talking thing. I'm like, well, about that, I have an entire page of, like, questions. I came prepared. Yeah. So I was like, I was like, I'm not good at improv.
You do scripting, wrong culture.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm more of like a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person in most aspects. And I think that probably has a lot to do with my very strong PDA. So like very strong PDA profile. I'm learning the more that I learn about this. I am 100% demand avoidant person.
This explains the whole band thing. You're like, I will not join a group.
No, I won't. I won't do it. I will hang out with you, but I'm not committing to that. I can't. No. So yeah, I am very much fly by the seat of my pants. And she's like, if you don't give me 24 to 48 hours to prepare for this, I am not doing it. And I'm like, okay. So, but it works for us though. Like I get that that's what she needs. And she knows that I'm most likely not going to be prepared. So she prepares for me sometimes.
Look at the beauty of diversity, right? Like that is what neurodiversity is about. It's not just about neurodivergence. But when we celebrate autism, we are also celebrating a diversity of, we need all types of brains to survive this life that we find ourselves occupying.
Yeah.
And it just shows that, like, even us, like, two best friends, like, we've been friends for, oh gosh, like 20
Almost
years.
20 years.
I think, 20 years next year we'll be friends. And so even like us who have known each other for that long, and both like autistic, both ADHD, but we're so different in how it presents that it's kind of insane that it's like we have a Venn diagram, but the middle is a very small sliver of the
very small.
Of what's not different about us.
Right.
So it's just even people who have known each other like your entire life, how we could both have the same thing. It's just how much different, like you said, the neurodiversity
how
thing.
weird is it that we have to talk about that? Because if you met two neurotypical or two allistic best friends, they would never have to point out like, oh, we're both neurotypical, but we don't have much else in common. Like, she goes fast, I go slow. She says up, I say down, but we're both neurotypical. Can you believe it? Like, yes, I fucking can, because we're all humans.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fucking course.
It's not
because
it's
your
not
brain
like,
and my brain are not the same, no matter what.
Shocker.
It's not like the Myers-Briggs test, which like, okay, there's only 16 personalities, and so we're gonna like. I like taking that test because I like taking random tests. Shut up. And so, but it's also like you can't really categorize people into like 16 different boxes.
Right.
So same thing with like neurotypical versus neurodivergent, that sort of thing.
Yeah, just human. And when you know you're neurodivergent, you have a different set of tools to be like, oh, that's why this is easy. That's why I don't want to get off my computer. Oh, that's why I need to set an alarm to go to the bathroom. Like, this all makes sense. But that's not to say neurotypical people don't have needs. They're just different ones. God knows I don't know what they are because I don't understand those people very well.
I don't either.
But I'm sure they have needs. They must.
Yeah, like I remember when I found out that not everyone has a constant internal monologue. Like their brain, like some people's brains are quiet, and I was like, "What the hell? Like, what is quiet brain? I don't know her. Like, she does not exist for me." And then the first time I ever experienced quiet brain was when I started taking medication for my ADHD, and I was like, "Oh, this is what these people experience." I drove in the car with no music on, in silence, and my brain was actually silent, and I was like, what the actual hell is this? This is what people's whole lives are? Like, I realized I hadn't had a thought in like a minute, and I was like, what is this? What black magic is this?
Did you like it?
It was very weird to me. But sometimes, yes, I think because of the PDA profile that I have, I don't even want my brain to ask me things. Like, I just want my body to be quiet sometimes. Yeah, and it's all the time. So I feel like I need the silence and the quiet. And so I am the most overwhelmed and the worst human possible when I am unmedicated. Like I have to be. Like, I've tested the theory. I'm like, okay, I lived all this life without this. So let's just see. Like, I just want to experiment. So I went off for like 2 weeks, and I was like, I will never do that again. I will never do that again.
Really?
Like,
because is it impossible to stay regulated? Like, you just can't stay emotionally regulated with all that.
Yeah, I need it. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I found I absolutely need it to be emotionally regulated. And I understand, like, I do not pill push. I do not like advocate for that kind of stuff because everyone's body's going to respond to those medications differently. And I fully understand that. But I say, for me, that literally changed my entire life. I went from not even being able to tolerate my kids laughing and having a good time in the other room to being able to at least block that out and not have a like rage meltdown because the noise was so loud that I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So like it made me a better person. It made me a better mother, a more understanding human. Like I can absolutely say that medication changed my life for that aspect. So
that is
the same. It did the same for me because I remember I started like really going into trying to get like at least the ADHD diagnosis, but I remember my other best friend, Scott, we had gotten to like this argument where it ended up to where he had to come to my house. We had to talk it out. I remember crying, like, and of course my autistic ass, I had just so I can get all my points across, I had a Post-it note of all the things I wanted to go into, because otherwise I would forget, and then I would think about it after he left, and then I would get angry because then I would message it, and tone doesn't go well over messaging. So like, no, I got it so throughout the day that I knew he was coming over, I was like, okay, I want to talk about this. I got to bring this up. Okay. But then, so he even brought up the fact of, well, have you thought about like doing something about it? Cause I told him like how I feel like I'm all over the place. I can't, like, I just have these outbursts. Like I have meltdown. Like I have like not necessarily anxiety attacks, but where I just kind of completely shut down. And he goes, well, what is your, and he's like a very cut to the chase, like, okay, just here's a solution. Here's the solution. He's like, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, are you going to see a therapist? I said, well, I thought about, like, I'm really thinking I have ADHD, so I think about going to get diagnosed for that. And so, like, as soon as I came on the medication, like Nikki said, it just was completely mind changing. Like, even my, like, the therapist that prescribes it to me, when she goes, well, how is it working for you? I said, well, the fact that this, and this has happened, and the fact that I'm medicated has maybe not completely melt down over it, which normally if I wasn't medicated, I would have a panic attack. Like, that really helped me basically just chill the fuck out. Like, if I didn't have this medication, then I would have had a complete meltdown. So I know it works, at least in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you've mentioned the podcast. I want to touch, I've listened to 3 episodes now. I'm trying to get like, I start at the beginning when I started the show, and then I'll get like most way through, and then I'll go from the bottom back up. I like sandwich it together. But I was listening to the Meat Body one on the way home, and on the way to work today, and I just love your guys' dynamic. I feel like you have a great dynamic on the show. I feel like it's kind of similar to like mine and Amanda's, where like you guys, it feels like you guys have known each other for a while and you just kind of get each other. So I kind of want you to talk about like, how did you start the show? I know you're an author, and I want you to talk about your books, but because podcasts are also my special interest. So like,
good. We'll have to do a little info dump. I just started a new one today. It's amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll have to info dump on that. It's so good.
For sure. So yeah, can you tell me how you started your show and like what was where did it come from?
So I listen to all types of podcasts, but I do listen to a lot of autism podcasts. So I was listening to Two Sides of the Spectrum, which is Meg Farrell's show. It's really, really good. It's actually for speech language pathologists. And funny story, I didn't know what SLP meant. I'd never heard that phrase, and she kept using it. So then she had a course, and it was called Autism Affirming Goal Setting. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. And I signed up for the course, and it turns out it was continuing education credits for speech language pathologists on setting goals for their children who are their clients in a way that didn't pathologize their kids. I thought we were going to like make a vision board together. I was like, I'm in. Let's set some goals, Meg.
The assignment.
Let's approach shit out of this.
It's very funny. Anyway, so I listen to that podcast, and apparently I buy products from Meg that are not for me. And I did the whole thing because autistic. I mean, I bought it. So I'm like, I got my CEUs. I'm not a speech language therapist, but I've got my half a CEU credit. Anyway, very proud. So I was listening to it, and I think everybody who loves podcasts or radio shows has these like driveway moments when you're home, but you really don't want anyone to notice you have pulled the car into the driveway because you need to finish this podcast. So Matt Lowry, who is my co-host, was on this show, and he read, and I think it's our episode 22, so you can catch it there too. But he read this children's story he'd written called The Legend of Autistica. I talk about it in episode 1. It blew my mind. I cried. I was probably in my car. The whole story is like 10 minutes, but I was probably in my car for an hour, just like weeping. It explained my whole life, the way he told it, his voice. And I just had this feeling, which I've had about other people too, like say Michelle Obama, where I'm like, we definitely should be friends. Russell T. Davies, I am convinced he just doesn't know it yet. We're going to be friends. And so this guy on this podcast, I'm like, we're going to need to be friends, and I'm going to need to make that happen. So I went on his website, and he had like a professional consultation. It was like, I don't know, $250
Is that the Doctor Who guy?
Yeah, Russell T. Davies. Yeah,
he's like, I know that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'll let you know when we're friends. I'll see if I can get him to come on the podcast.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. Anyway, so I signed up. I like paid $200 to do a consultation with him, and I asked him a couple questions about my clients, because I work with a lot of neurodivergent clients writing books, which is what I do. I ghostwrite and I help people write their own books, and I have publishing services. And so I asked him some questions. And then at the end, I was like, hey, I have this idea. And I threw out the idea of the podcast to him, which I had the original idea was like a series of 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I was like, maybe I can get this guy to do one of these 6 episodes, and I'll find like 6 different hosts, and we'll each do an aspect of autistic culture. That was the original idea. Anyway, I pitched him, and he was like, I'm all in. And he just sort of assumed it was an ongoing weekly show. And I was like, I hate everyone, and everyone hates me, and I never work well with anyone. I have like a likability factor of 13, like it's so, but I was like, all right, let's do this, let's see how it goes. But I'm like, he's probably going to be flaky and drive me nuts, or I'm going to be too like anal and drive him nuts. But okay, I'm ready for another disaster. Like, bring it on, universe.
Yeah, let's do it.
And it has been a year and a half of like sheer ease, joy, and bliss.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much fun. Everything about it is easy. We have read each other's minds from day one. I based our show on a podcast called Maintenance Phase, which if you haven't listened,
I listened to that one. I love Maintenance Phase.
So Matt is Aubrey, and I'm Michael Hobbs.
I get that.
So
I get that.
Everything is based on that show. So I like sat down, and Matt's ADHD. And so I sat down with Matt, and I'm like, okay, Maintenance Phase. These are the episodes. Here's what Michael Hobbs is doing. Here's what Aubrey's doing. You're Aubrey. I'm Michael. Do this, do that. Wrote the script out. He did not listen to any of that shit. He was like, yeah, I got you, boo. Let's go. Ready to record?
So he's me.
Yeah. So he's the you, and I'm the Amanda.
I love that.
It is so great because he makes me just chill a little bit, because I need to have all the rules, and I like maybe overthink it obsessively. Like there's so many like layers and spreadsheets, and if this happens, that happens, in flow charts. And but here's the thing. We record twice a month. He has never not been on time. He has never not been prepared. He's never rescheduled. He's like, his episodes are different than mine, and he's PDA, and I fucking love it. Like, it's like I love what he's taught me about being in relationship with someone who's PDA, because he never says, he's never against me. He's just for himself. Yeah. And I love that. Like, I'm telling him, listen to Maintenance Phase. He does not like podcasts. That is not his special interest.
Either. She doesn't listen to him.
No, he doesn't have hours for that. He has hours for his special interest. He doesn't have hours for my special interest. Why would he?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have hours for his special
Maintenance Phase. I've asked her to listen to it, and she has not. So.
Right.
Well, what's funny is the only podcasts I've ever listened to are ones like I just happen to be in her car with, like when we're driving around. Like if I go visit her, she comes visit me, and so it's more of like when it comes to audio stuff, like I can't do audiobooks because I tend to like space out and like get into my own headspace and everything. So it's kind of like I can't focus on something like that. And so like I can go and listen to like hours and hours of music and not remember a single song that played. And so it's more like I will have it as like background noise, almost like white noise. But it's like I don't want to listen. And unlike her, like my drive to work is like 5 minutes long. So if I listen to 5 minutes of a podcast each time, I would forget what they talked about in the previous 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's more like, and I'm more of a visual person, so I like I've always liked having like YouTube videos on in the background and everything. I like shiny, pretty colors, and so I like having that sort of thing on.
Matt watches every movie and remembers everything. If you put a movie on, I am asleep in 30 seconds. It is like putting a baby in a car. I am out. I
love that.
I'm like totally like as an aphantasia when you can't visualize anything, and like I'm all words, no pictures. So we'll be watching a movie and all I could think is I just want to put a podcast on. Would it be weird to put on headphones and a podcast while this movie's on?
You just do the one little
I've done it. Like, girl, I have done that. Totally.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like we haven't met in person yet. We're going to meet next week for the first time. We're going to record a live podcast. And, you know, he's got the experience as a psychologist and diagnosing people and actually inventing autistic centered therapy, which is awesome. My interest is much more in like the art of it. And that's what's been so fun is like creating something. I think that's like really special. So we have had a blast doing the research and the episodes. And so, yes. And the way, so I will say something about listening to it. If you decide you want to check it out, I, like you, Nikki, know the rules of podcasts. Please go back to episode 1 and listen to them in order for the greatest enjoyment. However, if that sounds like torture, what I recommend you do is scan through all our episodes, find one of your special interests, and listen to our topic on that. So if you're into trains or you're into Doctor Who or you're into Star Trek or you're into Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons or Pokemon or poetry or architecture, like we've got an episode on each of those things. You can, if you're into sex, we have a kink episode coming up soon. I'm very excited about. So just find your special interest, whatever it is. And then just listen to that episode and you'll see what we do with it. We kind of break it down into the cultural aspects of it, but then we also tell our own stories of being autistic and how that affects us. So our own stories are sort of woven in there.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like you said, oh, sorry, Amanda, I talk over her a lot on accident. One quick comment and then I'm going to let you say what you guys say. I like the fact that you're focusing with the podcast on the culture and not like, because I feel like with us, because her and we're late diagnosed as well, self-diagnosed autistic, both of us, but both formally diagnosed ADHD. I was diagnosed in 2020, but I feel like I have 2 autistic children, but I'm still learning about what does it look like in an adult, right? So I feel like I'm having to go back and learn about autism all over again. Even though I've done it as a parent, I have to do it as a person now instead of like, what does it mean to parent these children who are different, you know? And I feel like a lot of our first episodes are very like clinical. It's like, okay, what is this? Like, how do we define this? We want to learn about this aspect of being neurodivergent. And that was sort of the premise of the show to start. But I feel like now we've sort of found this flow where it's like, we share a lot more of our personal experience now. And I do feel like that is what's missing in this autistic culture space is the culture of being autistic. Like, what does it mean to be autistic? Not what does it clinically mean to be autistic, but what does it look like out in the world to be like an autistic person?
Yeah, I feel like we go through checklists and like we do one episode on each item on the checklist. They're like interoception. We should do an episode on that. Like proprioception. We should do it. And we're going through like all these checklists, but culture doesn't work that way. I'm not going to do just a cannoli episode and a talking with your hands episode. Right. Like that's Italian culture. All those things come together.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I get it. So I feel like that's how it started. We were running the checklist, right? And now it's
Yeah.
like we're in this flow. So I really do think that's a big part of what's missing is hearing autistic people's stories. Like, let's talk about it. What does my life actually look like? But I'm going to shut up now and let Amanda talk because I do that a lot on accident.
It's okay. So earlier you said like your passion right now is like helping other people write. Like, let me see if this even worked. I don't know if this is gonna cover your face. Kind of. So in your book, like the difference, I'll move it in a second. Yeah, the difference. 10 steps to writing a book that matters. What brought you to like what drew you to writing these kind of motivational guides, like not self-help, not really how to, but like basically like this is here's a best course of action on how to get this done. Like what kind of
Yeah. So I was a ghostwriter. That was my original job. So first I was a ghostwriter because I was writing people's term papers.
Oh,
that's how I got through college. So I charged $10 a page, and I wrote people's term papers in college. So I was a ghostwriter before I was a ghostwriter. And then when I graduated, I started writing books for other people. I live in Washington, D.C. And so a lot of them were like political memoirs or like candidates or people who were trying to get promotions, things like that. And I would write either their story or maybe like a best practices guide or whatever. And then I did that for a super long time, and 17 years. And then I started Difference Press, which is my publishing company. And I started that in 2010. But that book you just showed came out in 2014. So once I started Difference Press, people started asking me, like, where's your book? And I'm like, well, I have these 56 books I've ghostwritten, but they were on things like finance in Hong Kong or like George McGovern or like political random candidates.
Like, would you have to do like, I guess I don't really like, I know what ghostwriting is, but it's like, would you have to do all this research or there be like, okay, here's the outline. Now make it look good. Here's
no.
How does that work?
You start with the outline. So the main time I would spend with my clients would be doing the outline. And then once I had the outline, either I did all the research and filled it in, or if it was a memoir, I would interview them for each chapter.
So you did you're a definite jack of all trades. Like, okay, I don't know about physics, but I'm going to learn today. So
yeah, but like the thing is, my thing is actually writing the book. It doesn't matter what it's about. I don't even really, I do like learning about it. So I do remember some of the stuff, but sometimes I write shit. Like I did, like, I think it was 10 books roughly about the Y2K computer problem.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I don't know anything I wrote. I don't know.
It's like taking a test. It's like
I remember writing it. Mm-hmm. I remember how I organized the data. I remember exactly what my dining room table looked like, where my dining room table was, what color my wall was painted, what socks I was into at that time. Like, but what the books were about, like, I could write anything, like literally anything, but it's like amazing. The process that's super exciting. And then sometimes there'll be a topic. I'm working on a book right now about interoception, and I am really into it. So I just did a book about some sensory stuff for autistic people. That's a guide for parents. That was super fun. So one of the reasons I like working with autistic people is like autism is one of my special interests. So those books are more fun. Like I'm not into country music or guns. So writing books on country music or guns would not be fun enough for me to want to do it. I could though. I could write a book about anything. So then I had to write a book with my fucking name on it.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, it actually has to be good. I can't just
right. It might be like a masking thing. It was the scariest thing. It took me 4 years to write that book. I can ghostwrite a book in 6 weeks. Like I've ghostwritten books in 3 days. I can write a term paper easily in an afternoon. Like 4
Yeah.
hours. You want a 5-page paper? 4 hours max.
I think it's
Like,
kind of like
amazing.
almost like performance anxiety. It's like, well, my name's going on this now, so it has to be really good.
yeah. So, and then the book had to be, because what I was doing was helping people write books, and I still do like workshops for writers. And the purpose of that book when I first did it was to fill my workshops. And so I had to like tell people how to write a book, which I knew how to do at that point. I've written over 50 books, but I was like, who am I to tell people how to write books? Like, what do I know about that?
Like, so that's like imposter syndrome sort of
Total
thing.
imposter syndrome. Like 17 years, 50 books. And I was like, what could I possibly tell someone about that? What if it's not how they write a book?
Nothing. Nothing. Not a thing after 17 years. But see, that would be me, because I can't, like, it all sounds great up here. And then when I go to say it, it's like, bleh, right? So like, I know everything I need to know. And if you didn't ask me and put me on the spot, I could info dump my life out to you, right? About this topic. But then as soon as you asked me, it's like, brain no worky. I don't know, you know? So that would be my problem. Not like it has to be perfect now. It's just like, I can't explain it to you. Sorry.
That's how I am at my job. If I come across a problem, I can like immediately solve it, or at least with a little bit of research solve the problem. But if someone else comes to me with that same problem, I completely doubt all my knowledge, all my experience, all everything. I'm just like, well, I'm just not really sure what we should do. Let me think about that. And so whereas, like I said, if I just came across this problem, it would just be solved immediately.
Right. So weird. So anyway, so that's how my first book came to be. It is now probably over 100,000 copies that it's sold.
That's awesome.
And I've written 7 books with my name on it since then. The most recent one is called The Equalizing Quill. And that is, yes, that's one's right there. And it's about a topic near and dear to y'all's heart, which is AI for neurodivergent people. So,
oh yeah, I saw that. When I was looking up to see, I'm like, are these available near? Because I used to work at Barnes and Noble. I'm like, are these available in my store? And they weren't, but that was the one I saw that was available in the store next to it. I'm like, oh, that might be interesting to check out.
Yay!
It's like, yeah,
tells lots of good autism stories in there. About technology that autistic people have invented, and also how neurodivergent people, the different ways that AI can help them. So,
yeah, I'm actually really interested to. I'm not a big reader, so if there's an audiobook format, I would love to.
That will be coming out soon. We've almost finished it. So I'll keep you posted. Yes, it will be on Audible. Hopefully this month. Might be next month.
Oh,
this month seems to
makes me happy, because I have a really difficult time. I have a hard time reading. So like, it's not that I don't want to. It's just like difficult for me to retain when I'm
Have
reading.
you ever seen those bionic fonts? Have you seen that? Aren't they amazing?
It makes it so much easier. Why? I don't know, but I can read and retain so much easier when it's like that. I'm like, can everyone please write like this?
Why can't we? Yeah. Big fan. I'm a big fan of that font. If you don't know what that is, you look that shit up.
It's like really is that the one where it has like the colors, like the different?
Yes.
Like it's heavier. And I've heard the bottom of each of the letters is thicker than the top, and it helps track your eye track from like jumping lines. It's like having a ruler. If you ever read with a ruler, holding a ruler to like stay on the line, it kind of does that and other magical things.
It probably just helps you focus then. So it probably just makes it easier to focus because it's different.
Yeah,
it's
total game changer.
Like for me, it's like I just wish every ebook reader, every PDF would just come like, can you just default to dark mode? I don't want to be light mode anymore. Like my eyes hurt. Okay, I've been wearing glasses since I was 5. I don't want to do this anymore.
But yeah, I did want to ask too. So you said you have a publishing company, Difference Press. I see it under your name there. That's the name, right? Not doing that wrong. Okay, good.
Difference Press.
So what sort of books do you publish apart from? Is it mostly like memoirs? Is it Or do you publish like all sorts of things?
All nonfiction. So
Okay.
no novels, no kids books, no poetry, no cookbooks.
Okay.
But we do how-to books, business books, parenting books, relationship books, legal, lots of memoirs. If you're watching the video, every book you see behind me is published by our company. So,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, so that's kind of fun. And we've had, I think our youngest author was 9 and our oldest was like 89.
Oh wow.
Oh, I love that.
So huge range. Some people write it to grow their business. For some people, it's been a lifelong goal. Some companies will hire me to help them with either lead gen or maybe it's customer service, things like that, that'll make the client experience better. We're doing a guide right now for lawyers on how to handle victims of sexual assault more in a more like trauma informed way. That's
Oh,
a
I
fun
love
one. Yeah, we got a bunch of good ones going right now. So pretty
That's
exciting.
amazing.
Lots of
Yeah,
books
I
in
love
the HR, recruiting, DEI, stuff
Mhm.
like that. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, that is awesome. I love that. Amanda, you have more questions I can see on our document.
I
Is
won't ask
anything
all
else
of them
you would
because
like to?
she's talked about just in organically already. But I did have one thing. I'd watched one of your videos on your website. The power of unmasking was what the title was on your website. Like your YouTube channel, the author incubator. Do you still post to that? I think one of them was like last 3 years, I think.
I know. I somehow fell off that because we post our videos on the Autistic Culture Podcast channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been slacking. So I've been so into kind of our podcast and building a new audience that I haven't been doing. I used to have a podcast on book writing too, and I used to make a lot of videos, but
so like
been lazy.
This particular video kind of like really resonated with me, because like it talked about how like your weight at the time like affected how you wanted to be perceived by others.
Mm-hmm.
So like I used to be personally I used to be about 300 pounds, was at my
Same.
heaviest, and so like the way you spoke about what you did to control your narrative so others wouldn't view you as like the fat girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like I often dress slumpy and like I tried to hide the fact that I was very insecure about my weight, like using sarcasm and dry humor. Was there like a particular moment that caused your shift in perspective in terms of just being yourself and pulling off the mask, or was it more of a gradual process?
I think I tried it so many different ways. And I think that's like we use this word unmasking, particularly since Dr. Devin Price's book Unmasking Autism comes out. And it sounds like it's a thing. Like, here are the instructions. What it means is, and I don't even really know what it means.
Basically, just take a makeup remover wipe, and that's all you got to do.
Right. Yeah. How hard could that be? Because they're like,
Right.
okay, so this is slightly different than weight, although there's probably some connections to it. But I am someone who's always been like an open book. And so I talked a lot, and many autistic people do, about trauma and physical abuse that I had to deal with as connected to my autism. And in my case, see, I'm like masking right now because, well, I'll explain why, and then we'll just hope I don't have consequences. So I talked about that very openly. And my ex-husband was neurotypical, and people generally describe him as serene. And my autism drove him batshit crazy, like double empathy problem. He hated being around. Like we did not get along. And eventually he got so mad that he punched me. He like slammed me into a wall. He punched me. Like, it was bad. And I blamed myself 100%. Because I know how annoying I am. And like everyone agrees he's nice and I'm an asshole. So like I'm just and at this point I was not diagnosed. So so add that, right? And so I definitely thought I deserved it. And then I did a whole lot of therapy, and then I wrote about that, and I did a lot of fundraising for domestic violence and talked about it very publicly. But what I didn't realize is 2-year-olds grow up and have opinions and maybe don't like their mom talking about the fact that their dad hit them.
Right.
So my son is now 18, and he does not believe his father ever hit me. He has lots of evidence that I'm an asshole because he's seen my meltdowns, and he has lots of evidence that his dad is serene. And so he thinks I made all of that up for attention and I'm manipulative. And so I don't normally talk about this, but for many, many, many years, I talked about it. I was on big stages giving speeches and doing fundraising. And then like that ended up showing up in court when my husband was trying to get custody. And so I don't know that it was so great that I was so unmasked. Like maybe not my best fucking decision. And so I was very open in talking about it. And in some ways it was very healing, but in other ways I lost custody of my kid because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and for other people that could be a job or something like that. So it's like layers. Unlike you, Amanda, I was the opposite. I failed at masking in school. I did not. I was not the quiet girl. Anything you read about women with autism, I was not that. I don't know why anyone's surprised I'm autistic. It's the weirdest thing because nonstop, I was in the principal's office. Teachers were calling me out in the hallway. My teachers would just set up my classroom in the hallway. They like on the first day, they would just set my desk up in the hallway. Like I was terrible at masking. I was never quiet. I never got along with anyone. It was there were always behavior issues. And so then when I got my diagnosis, I started trying to fix things. And one of the ways that I tried to fix myself was through cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. And I'm a really good student, so I was really good at it. And my opinion of CBT is that it's teaching masking. And no one had taught me masking before. And now I had the rules. And I got an A on that test, except it sent me into complete and total burnout and social and suicidal ideation.
Right.
But no one had ever taught me how to mask before. I didn't get that. So now I'm like, oh, now I could get an A in this.
It's like factory. It's like factory going back to factory settings. It's like,
Yeah. So then it's like, okay, I had burnout and I came out the other side and I am unmasked now, but I'm also in some ways more masked because now I'm much more careful about what I do talk about and don't talk about.
It's a situational thing, probably.
Right. And anyway, all this comes down to that shit is so confusing. It is not black and white. My brain does not know how to handle gray. And so a brownie was a fantastic solution. So I completely ate to, I don't know. It wasn't just emotional eating. It was shut up eating. It was like the voices in your head that you're talking about, Nikki. Like if I was eating, it was at least a few minutes where those voices would shut up.
Yeah.
Where it was like, everyone hates me. No, it's not me. It's them. Let me make a list of how they're wrong. Maybe I'll make a spreadsheet. No, I'll do a PowerPoint. I'm going to tell someone injustice. I have to stop. No, but it's me. I'm a terrible person. I should beat myself up. Maybe I should cut. Cutting will help. Oh, look, I feel better right now. Oh, nope. Now it just hurts. Oh, fuck. That hurts. I shouldn't have done that. Is that going to get infected? It's going to get infected. Let me have a brownie.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense too, because that like the sweet things and the salty things, those not only are they stimming, like you're stimming with those sensations, but also it triggers your dopamine receptor. Like it hits your dopamine receptor. Sugar hits it just like caffeine does, just like whatever. Like soda for me has been an issue for many reasons, but like one of them is I need the bubbles to calm down at the end of the day. Like I need the bubbles. I need I will look at my husband and I just need my bubbles. Right. And like the caffeine is here nor there because I could drink 6 cups of coffee and go to sleep. But like I need the damn bubbles. right? I
That's
need the
stimmy.
sensory
It's all
experience of
stimmy,
soda,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I am incredibly stimmy just in ways that like are like almost like I have nails for a reason because I have to do this with my fingers all the time. This whole time I've had my hands down here doing this with my fingers. I have to stim. I can't sit still.
I've been playing with my cord.
We're all stimming, everybody.
I've been making knots in my cord this whole time.
Or you'll notice me doing one of these in the chair.
Yep.
Like, I can't sit still. I
this.
can't. Yeah, like I can't sit still. So like shit, and now I just lost my train of thought. Boom, gone. See, it's like I was on something and now it just
Bubbles, soda.
Yeah. Yes, eating, dopamine. There we go. We walked it back.
Yeah.
So it hits your dopamine receptors. And what do we need when we're neurodivergent? We need the dopamine. Like we need it. It is necessary. And I honestly don't remember. I'm sure your co-host would know much better than I would, but it's like there's a lack of, right? Or do we just process it quicker? I don't remember what that is, but like either way, we struggle with the dopamine and keeping it there, right? So
yeah,
and those things trigger that. They trigger our feel-good hormones. And so it's food makes sense. And I stim with food a lot, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I can 100% resonate with that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
All of that to say I get it.
Yeah.
I can't give a short answer to anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like with masking, I think we've talked about this before on the show. I almost feel like it's a necessary evil sometimes. Like if you want to get through a day, like I work a full-time job in a semi-retail environment. Like I can't go into work and tell the coworker that pissed me off to fuck off. I'll do it myself because they're in my head. I want to say you're a fucking idiot. Like, cause I can't say that out loud.
Right? I went to the motor vehicle department today. I guess I could have unmasked.
Enough said.
It's just like, what would the point be? So I like instead of thinking about masking or unmasking, even though I do think about that, but that's not the primary thing for me. The primary thing is, how do I stay emotionally regulated as much of the time as possible?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's difficult.
And so like I've set up my day with a lot more breaks. I schedule like time where people can't get on my calendar. Like I do a lot of things. Like, so for instance, today I knew I had to go to the DMV. So I scheduled 3 hours after. If I felt like working, I could work. But if I felt like laying on the couch, that counts as work to me, because if I'm not regulated, I end up melting down and like losing clients, pissing people off, having team members quit. Like, so, or like, I just don't do a very good job and it's heading towards burnout. So I just don't play with it anymore. And to me, that's more important than masking around. Now, if I'm masking, that's going to use up resources.
Yeah.
So I have to plan for that. Yeah, exactly. But it's not good or bad. It's more just like energy regulation.
Yeah.
Emotional regulation and energy conservation. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, then that means this.
Yeah. Because I think even like neurotypical people tend to even go through that. Like, I don't think it's necessarily just a neurodiverse thing. Because like I've heard the phrase like, oh, sorry, my mask slipped a little bit. But in a sense of like, oh, sorry, I yelled at you when I shouldn't have. And it's not necessarily like that person is just like undiagnosed autistic. It's more like my emotions got the better of me because I'm a fucking human. So like I didn't process that before I like spoke out loud, before I talked to you, before I did this, before I acted this way. So I think even like neurotypical people tend to like, or can experience that sort of thing too. Because it's like, because it's not saying like all neurotypical people are like, oh, they're just really good at emotionally regulating. Like, because we've seen people, obviously, like you said, your ex-husband, that he obviously didn't emotionally regulate well. So that sort of thing. But
yeah, I mean, obviously we're processing so much more information. Like, it's hard for everyone, but when you're processing 42% more information, it just makes sense. You're gonna have
Right.
more meltdowns and overstimulation because there's just more coming in.
Yeah. I know we're like past the hour mark, so I don't know how much time you have tonight. I don't want to take up your entire night, but if there is anything else like you want to say, if there's any other questions Amanda has, I think you've hit the end of your thingy, right?
Yeah.
Your
So I
little
think
list. Okay.
I think everything is pretty much all what you answered.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we can wrap it up here. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with? Like, I know I definitely tell everyone where to find you, where to get your books and everything, and we will make sure to link everything in the show notes. Wow, here go the mush mouth. It's past 8:00, Amanda. It's happening. It's happening. Every time past 8:00, my brain just starts slowly shutting down. So
I totally get that. I don't have anything else.
okay.
Do you want to do Mad Libs?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, we forgot about the freaking Mad
Okay.
Lib. Oh my God. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm like, I'm here for the Mad Libs. Come on. I was promised Mad Libs.
We were going to start it that way, and I just was like, oh, she's here. Let's talk. You know what I mean? So it's okay. It's fine. They know what to expect on this show at this point. It's a shit show. We always say, welcome to the shit show. This is what it is. It's never the same. You know, we're 42 episodes in at this point, and you think we'd have figured out this shit by now. We definitely don't. So it's fine. It's totally fine. Amanda, do you have it in front of you? Because mine has disappeared somewhere. Oh, it's on the bed. Okay.
I do.
See, not prepared.
Yes.
Not prepared.
Okay.
She's like, I've had it ready since 5:30. Thank you very much.
Well, I even had the
Okay, what do
time
we
wrong.
got?
I had the time wrong. I thought it was 6:30. So I'm like, I'm gonna get it 6:15. She's like, it's gonna be 6:45 for me. I'm like, you're gonna be late.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not late, damn
I
it.
had to close the store. I'm like, girl, I'm not gonna be on here at 6:15. I'm gonna be clocking out of work at 6:15. But
Okay,
so you got it, Amanda?
Yes. So first thing I
Perfect.
need from you is a plural noun.
Chimpanzees.
Ooh, I love it.
I feel like I'm glad we have an author to pick words because we're always struggling. Like we have to do this ahead of time.
Yes.
Because we always struggle. Adjective.
Feisty.
Love that. It can be as inappropriate as you'd like it to be, by the way. Like we get real inappropriate.
Verb ending in ing.
Grifting.
Ooh.
See, that's normally
like
where I
that
would
word.
put. I would normally put fucking. That's like our.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I know a word that ends in ing.
Yeah.
Yep. Plural noun.
I mean, I'm feeling jade eggs.
Jade
Ooh.
eggs.
Okay.
Noun.
Crystals. Oh, wait, that was it. Crystal.
Crystal.
I made it plural accidentally.
Man,
I do
like
that too all the time.
You're really feeding into Nikki's vibe now with the jade eggs and the crystal.
You've
you got
nailed
a number. Nailed it. Plural noun.
Plushies.
Oh, I love it.
Adjective.
Shiny.
Shiny, happy people. Color.
Ooh, iridescent purple.
Ooh, I love that. See, she does like I do, where I can't just say like one thing. I have to make it bigger than the space lines.
What's funny is that we can't think of adjectives, but we always add adjectives to the nouns. Like, I don't understand what's wrong with this.
Always.
I'm like, why couldn't I have said iridescent instead of shiny?
Right.
Part of the body.
Oh, armpit.
Of course.
Verb.
Pulse.
Adverb.
Carefully.
A few more. Person in room.
Oh, I mean Amanda.
Amanda.
Love it.
Adjective.
Smelly.
Smelly.
Ooh.
This is when I start looking at like the movies and books behind my name. Like,
Yeah.
where's I need words.
Yeah, I'm like, what is an adjective? I
Mhm.
suddenly forgot.
I write books.
Yeah.
Verb.
A verb. Survive.
Yes.
I will survive. Adjective.
Filthy.
I feel like this is going to be a really good one.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen this. Vehicle.
Oh God.
I
A
have
forklift?
never seen vehicle.
Forklifts. Yeah, it's like this is the second to last Mad Lib. This is the first time third to last Mad Lib. First time I've ever seen vehicle on here.
Yeah.
I
I don't think I've
remember.
ever seen vehicle in a Mad Lib period ever in my entire life. So that's a first.
Two more. Verb ending in ing.
A verb ending in ing. I'm not gonna do fucking. I'm gonna do licking. Licking,
Ooh,
my friends.
Okay.
Mixing it up.
There we go. I love it.
And noun.
Capitalism?
Sure. I love that.
This will make the conservatives very happy.
Okay.
So this one's still in the Pokemon Mad Lib. The title is Stay Away from Team Skull. Who are these nasty chimpanzees bothering everyone else around them? Team Skull, of course. They may seem cool or feisty at first, but they're not. Seen grifting around the Alola Islands on motorcycles, this gang of jade eggs is always looking for a crystal. They bully trainers into plushies and then take away their favorite Pokemon. It's shiny to spot them. Each member wears a black and iridescent purple t-shirt. That sounds lovely, actually. And
I like those.
And a bandana over his or her armpit. Members of Team Skull only pulse when they know they're going to carefully win. That's why Ash, Amanda, and their smelly friends need to survive together. So if you're filthy, you'll stay away from anyone riding a forklift and licking a black and white outfit. Beware of teen capitalism.
Correct. Correct. And this
love that.
was my treatise against Goop and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes.
So I think it all works.
I love it.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show and for playing along with our little Mad Lib. We are just a big bunch of nostalgic dorks over here. So we love anything nostalgia and fun and funny and fuckery. That's kind of
I gotta go train some Pokemon now, you guys. I just feel like I gotta make it to the yellow gymnasium. Running out of time. Gotta catch them all.
I know. Gotta catch them all.
Other
So thank you for being on. We really appreciate time out of your day to hang out with us here on the show. I definitely want to connect with you again sometime. Maybe we can have a little chat about something else, maybe a special interest. And I think we've lost. Can anyone still hear me?
Yes.
Lord Jesus, please.
Yeah.
I hope so. We think we've lost internet connection, which is not great.
Yeah.
Nope, you're good. It was just for a minute.
Oh,
yeah, I'd love to jam out on special interest for sure. It's been so much fun hanging out with you guys, and can't wait to be back, and I can't wait to hear the show.
And what's the best way for people to if they want to reach you?
If people want to find me, they should go to autisticculturepodcast.com. For PDAers in the house, when you get there, it is a Substack site. It will tell you must log in and give me your email address. That is a lie. Right underneath that box, it says skip this step. I don't like following rules. click that button. I don't really need your email address. I just like using the Substack platform because it makes our podcast really easy to distribute. So we do have a love letter to our PDA friends there. I am not forcing you into giving me your email address, but head over to autisticculturepodcast.com, listen to one of our episodes, maybe even contribute a guest article to our blog. We'd love to hear your autistic culture story.
Great. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys. Ciao.
Bye. Hello, everyone. It's future us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming at you with the fuckery portion of this episode. We did not do the fuckery portion with Angela because, you know, we just don't want to completely scare all of our guests away. Just trying to get my face not so whatever is happening here. That's a little better, I suppose. So let's hit them with the fuckery, Aminder. First, let us discuss your anonymity in the Google Doc. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
In our AI story document, you are an anonymous blobfish.
Accurate.
And then okay, so you were idle, and then when you came back in, you were a chinchilla.
Oh.
And now you're a leopard, which we've done before. So I'm gonna let you choose chinchilla or leopard, since you were one, but when I looked before we started.
I mean, I used to have 2 dagoos, which are related to chinchillas, so I will choose the chinchilla. Sorry, blobfish, but you ain't for me.
Okay, so Amanda is an anonymous chinchilla today. Okay. So am I reading this one since you read last time?
Yeah, I guess
I read last time.
I read last time because you did the Mad Lib last
That's
time.
right. Okay, so I will read this one. And then
unless you want me to read it, because otherwise it's either because I thought of the words for another time. So I don't know if you want to just read them twice in a row.
Yeah, I could just read them twice in a row. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm down. I'm down with that. Okay, here comes the fuckery. Ready? So previously on the Chronicles of Jeremy.
Do we need it?
Jeremy and friends.
Hold on. Do you do the intro?
Fuck, I suppose we do. I'm always trying to start without the Jeremy intro. Okay, here's the Jeremy. Are y'all ready for the Jeremy? Here's the Jeremy. Okay.
I like that it's Anne Velvet. Like, she don't get a title. She's just Velvet.
And Velvet. Well, we've not given her anything else, but you know.
Yeah, the AI hasn't graced her with a title.
No. Okay, now we shall read the Jeremy. Okay, previously on the Chronicles of Jeremy, Jeremy and friends were trying to track down Velvet. Meanwhile, Velvet encountered a snarky mermaid who told her that her friends were close by. The gang reunites only to be met with a rather unusual sight. Okay, now this is not AI. This is me. For this week and next week. So here we go. A fluffy pink cloud had descended right behind them. They could tell something was inside of it. As they stared at this strange cloud, Velvet had made her way to the back of the group, almost hiding behind Sympathy. Suddenly, the cloud parted, and out stepped a perfectly groomed toy poodle. Hair trimmed like a cute little teddy bear, nails painted a bright, almost neon pink, and a stunning diamond-encrusted collar.
Sounds like wearing.
Yeah, it should say wearing a stunning diamond-encrusted collar, but I can't type, so it's fine. That tracks, Sympathy said sarcastically, as Binky giggled next to her. All she's missing is her pretty pink bows, and she'll be best in show, Binky replied, still giggling. This should have been moved down, and we shall do it now. Okay. In a gruff voice, the poodle shouted, "Any of you seen a black cat around here? Tall, lanky, Ears too big for her head. Who said that? Finnegan asked. The dog did, Jeremy replied. What dog? Wait, you mean a little teddy bear over there? Finnegan said. Who are you calling a teddy bear, punk? The poodle replied, irritated by Finnegan's ignorance.
From Brooklyn, here.
Oh, it's a mad teddy bear. Did you miss your nap, buddy? Finnegan continued. Listen, kid, you got one more time to call me a teddy bear before... All right, Percy, that's enough. I'm right here, Velvet said, as she stepped in front of Finnegan. What do you want? How cute. You found some friends. Too bad you'll have to say bye now. You're officially off this assignment, Percy replied. Off the assignment? You can't. I can, and I just did. It's over, kid. You had your chance. You failed again. Now say goodbye to your little friends and get in the cloud. To be continued. It's a short one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a short
That's
one.
okay.
We're moving on in the storyline. Velvet. Will she stay? Will she go?
Does she stay or should she go?
Should I stay or should I go down? If you sticking, squeak, squeaking.
Squeak, squeak,
If you stuck around this long, type should I stay or should I go now on the comment for this week. We've yet added a new character, Percy the Poodle. I don't know if he'll stick around, but he's more of an ancillary character.
Which reminds me of, like I said, the lady Georgette from, I looked her up, Georgette from Oliver and Company.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Percy the pug from Pocahontas. That was a lot of P's. But
okay. You're right. This was a collaboration. Jordan thought of the name Percy because it's a poodle, and he thought that would be good. Nicholas wanted Jamal. I was like, no. It doesn't quite work with the story. So there was Jamal, there was Jimmy, there was Johnny.
Like
and I was
J
like,
names.
no. So yeah, this is what we have. God damn it, why am I yawning already? Fucking hell. Now I gotta do the damn yawn counter. So dumb. Okay, there it is. Anyway, that's all I have for you on the fuckery portion of this. Amanda, anything you'd like to add before we hit the socials and the outro?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well, we're off to just go speak to each other again. Like we didn't just do this. Or let's behind the curtain for a second.
We'll see. We'll be in the same outfit.
Yeah, same outfit. Next week, you'll see us because we're doing this in real time in like 2 minutes. Okay. You can find us, per usual, everywhere socials are platformed at the NDC Podcast. You can send us an email at thndcpodcast@gmail.com. All things are linked in the show notes, per usual. Everywhere you can find Dr. Lauria, I will make sure we link in the show notes as well. So if you'd like to go check her out or anything she does, we will have that all there for you. So if you guys loved this episode, let us know. You can do that by commenting on the episode, by sending us an email, whatever you want to do. Oh God, let me just burp at you. It's fine. It just came flying out of me. It's whatever. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got. We'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.